Well, this just got interesting.
We all saw these videos of the top 10 worst video game endings that completely ruined the game's experience.
What the fuck?
But what about the opposite?
What about the games that wouldn't have worked until you've played the game all the way through, making your journey worth the hours of gameplay? To be fair, not all the games on this list are bad. The endings just made them worth playing.
First, a few ground rules.
As usual, one game per franchise. Rule 2. If the game has multiple endings, I'm still going over how each ending works for the game as a whole.
Finally, I'll put a timestamp for each segment in case you don't want to get spoilers. With that said,
enjoy the show.
Number 10. Assassin's Creed. The original Assassin's Creed game introduced a revolutionary parkour system and intriguing historical setting, but it suffered from repetitive mission structures and a story that felt slow to develop. Players could easily get bored with the investigation, eavesdrop, kill, repeat mission loop.
that is, until we get to the climax.
After Altair defeats and assassinates his mentor Al-Mualim, and discovering his treachery as a Templar was a significant historical revelation.
However, the true saving grace comes with the modern day.
The revelation that Lucy and Vidic are also Templars, that Desmond is a key to finding the pieces of Eden, and the final shocking vision of the symbols glowing on the walls of Abstergo's lab, hinting at a grand conspiracy stretching across history, was a game changer.
Seriously, if this game came out in 2010, fans would probably make conspiracy theories about this finale alone. See what I mean?
It justified the Animus framework, established the overarching conflict between Assassins and Templars, and provided a massive cliffhanger that left players desperate for the sequel. Without this mind-blowing reveal, the game might have been seen as a promising but ultimately repetitive new IP. The ending saved it by revealing its true ambition and transforming it into the foundational cornerstone of a sprawling saga.
Or a very confusing mess.
Number 9. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
So, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out with a generally unpolished feel.
While the open world concept was praised, the technical state was a major detector. The early game experience was marred by frame rate drops, pop-in, and visual bugs. Players might have felt the open world liberation came at too high a cost, or that the story was too fragmented. The final arc of the story, particularly in Area Zero and the final confrontation, delivered a genuinely emotional, lore-rich, and narratively compelling conclusion that transcended the technical shortcomings. The Path of Legends and Starfield Street storylines built up, but it's the Victory Road path culminating in Area Zero that truly shines.
This segment shifts from a typical Pokemon journey into a narrative-driven, mysterious, and sort of unsettling adventure.
The reveal of the Time Machine, the Paradox Pokemon, and the twist involving Professor Sada Toro and their AI counterpart is generally well executed. The final battle against the AI Professor, backed by the emotional music and the desperation of the situation, is surprisingly poignant for a Pokemon game. It provided a level of emotional depth and a coherent, compelling lore explanation that tied together many of the game's disparate elements. For many players, this powerful conclusion, which felt distinct and more mature than typical Pokemon narratives, offered a truly memorable experience that overshadowed the technical issues that plagued the earlier parts of the game. By demonstrating that behind its rough exterior, there was a deeply engaging and emotional resonant story waiting to be discovered. Number 8. Spider-Man Web of Shadows. This game was praised for its unique black suit, red suit combat mechanics and choice system, but it suffered from a somewhat generic open world and mission structure that could feel repetitive. The game often felt like a series of fights against the symbiote invasion, could lack a deeper narrative hook beyond the immense threat. The open world wasn't as dynamic or engaging as later Spider-Man titles.
Its ending, however, divided the culmination of the choices made throughout the game.
The game features multiple endings determined by the player's overall choices, to either embrace the destructive power of the black suit or stick to his heroic principles with the red suit.
There, of course, is the red suit ending.
Peter makes a noble sacrifice, destroys the symbiotes, and reaffirms his commitment to being a true hero, even if it means losing some allies. This ending resonated because it felt like a true Spider-Man story, immense personal sacrifice for the greater good. Then there's the black suit ending. Peter embraces the symbiote's power, becoming a darker, more ruthless figure, often leading to him losing friends and even turning against them. This provided a compelling what-if scenario. The fact that your moral alignment generally detected the final confrontations and the fate of New York gave the endings a satisfying sense of consequence that elaborate the entire playthrough. It saved the game by giving meaning to the combat and choices, delivering a powerful conclusion that felt uniquely tailored to the player's interpretation of Spider-Man. Number 7. BioShock. This game built an incredible atmosphere and intriguing narrative. While visually stunning and narratively interesting, by the latter half the combat could feel repetitive, and the player might begin to question the purpose of their actions, or feel their journey was too linear. Until the later half, developing a shocking, mind-bending twist that retroactively redefined the player's entire understanding. They revealed that the protagonist, Jack, is not a free agent, but rather a genetically programmed sleeper agent, manipulated by the phrase, "would you kindly?" It is one of the most iconic twists in gaming history. This revelation doesn't just change the plot, it forces the player to reevaluate every action they took, every choice they made, realizing it was all preordained. It's a powerful meta-commentary on player agency in video games. Furthermore, the final confrontation with Frank Fontaine and the subsequent choice regarding the Little Sisters to save or harvest them provides deeply impactful moral conclusions that feel earned after the twist. The good ending, where Jack leads the Little Sisters to a life above ground, is genuinely heartwarming and provides a sense of redemption. This profound narrative twist elaborates BioShock from a great shooter to a philosophical masterpiece, making the entire journey more impactful in retrospect.
So, would you kindly give this game a try?
Would you kindly? Powerful phrase.
Number 6. Mafia 3.
So, this segment is going to be interesting.
Mafia 3 had a compelling protagonist and setting in the 1968 New Bordeaux, but suffered from repetitive mission designs, a grindy, heavy open world, and some narrative pacing issues. The game's open world loop of taking over districts could become monotonous. The story was strong, but the gameplay often felt like a chore, risking player fatigue before the narrative payoff.
Like Web of Shadows, Mafia 3 has multiple endings.
Each ending lies in a branching path, determined by whether Lincoln chooses to rule New Bordeaux alone with his lieutenants or leave. Each path was significant consequences, explored through a documentary-style epilogue that fast-forwards years into the future. The narrative foresight compelled with a final confrontation with Salman Khan, which is a brutal, satisfying personal climax, elaborates the entire experience. The game explicitly acknowledges the cyclical nature of violence and power, and by allowing the player's choice to shape Lincoln's ultimate fate, and showing the long-term ramifications.
But then something interesting happens.
It was then told that the game's villain, Salman Khan, and a group of conspirators murdered President Kennedy. Now, some would say, holy shit, I can't believe they did that. This makes me rethink things about history. And others would say, holy shit, I can't believe they did that. This is a big insult to this historic travesty. To me, this is just a good example of historical fiction, which I am a big fan of. It transcends the repetitive gameplay and provides a deeply thought-provoking and satisfying conclusion to the revenge saga, transferring a repetitive gameplay loop into a meaningful narrative about the consequences of ambition and revenge. Number 5. Halo Reach. Designed as a prequel dating the tragic fall of the planet Reach and the sacrifice of Noble Team, its ending didn't save the flawed game so much as it masterfully delivered on its grim promise, transforming a foregone conclusion into an intensifying personal, heroic, an emotionally devastating last stand that elevated the entire narrative. As a prequel to Halo Combat Evolved, everyone knew how the reach ended. It fell. The challenge was to make a story with a predetermined tragic ending feel meaningful and impactful, avoiding a sense of futility.
Thankfully, it did a good job at that.
The final mission, Lone Wolf, is legendary. After all other members of Noble Team have fallen, the player as Noble 6 is tasked with ensuring the Pillar of Autumn escapes. Once that objective is complete, the game doesn't end. Instead, you're given a simple, chilling directive: survive. The player is then forced to fight an unending wave of Covenant forces with no hope of victory, just prolonging the inevitable. This unwinnable last stand is incredibly powerful.
We're not taking any of them with us!
Sorry, couldn't resist.
It's a defiant act of sacrifice, a personal echo of the planet's fall, and it perfectly encapsulates the Spartans' ethos. It isn't a victory, in the traditional sense, but a profound demonstration of heroism and selflessness that leads immense weight to the Halo universe's lore. This powerful definition of heartbreaking conclusion cemented Reach as one of the most emotionally resonant entries in the series, turning a known tragedy into an unforgettable personal journey.
Insert Halo 5 or TV show joke complaint here.
Number 4. Mass Effect Andromeda.
This is a tricky one.
As Mass Effect Andromeda launched with significant technical issues, animation bugs, and criticisms regarding its narrative, pacing, and character development, Andromeda struggled with a perceived lack of urgency, a less compelling villain, and a feeling that the protagonist, Ryder, was just reacting to events rather than driving them. Many players found the overall narrative underwhelming, and the primary goal of finding a golden world for colonization to be ill-defined and constantly deferred.
That is until you get to the climax.
The Archon kidnaps your sibling using their implant to control the remnant and use all the assets you made throughout your journey in the final battle.
Every choice you made finally has some effect into the climax.
While it didn't fix the technical issues or fully redeem the narrative earlier missteps, it concluded that immediate threat with a sense of accomplishment and cruelly presented a hopeful and expansive future for the setting. It shifted the narrative from simply surviving to thriving, giving the player a feeling that their long journey had finally led to a tangible, positive outcome, leaving a more optimistic final impression that the game's rocky start might have suggested. If the Mass Effect trilogy was BioWare's own Star Wars saga, this was definitely the Rogue One. Number 3. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. The original Modern Warfare 3 in 2011 faced the immense pressure of concluding one of the most iconic and beloved trilogies in gaming history. The previous game ended on a massive cliffhanger. There was a risk of an anticlimactic finish.
And yeah, we as gamers can tell how bad that could be ruined.
The final mission, Dust to Dust, is a brutal personal confrontation. The death of Soap earlier in the campaign was a huge blow, raising the stakes even further. The final pursuit and the brutal hand-to-hand fight with Makarov aboard the helicopter, culminating in Price personally choking him to death with a steel cable, was an incredibly satisfying and earned moment of vengeance. It was a raw, versatile, and provided a sense of finality to the overarching conflict, providing a definite, emotional, resonant, and cathartic conclusion to Captain Price and Soap McIntosh's long struggle against Makarov, offering closure after years of cliffhangers and tragic losses. It wasn't just another mission, it was the end of an era, and coming from a franchise as large as this, that's saying a lot. Number 2. Undertale.
So yeah, everyone on the internet has heard of Undertale.
From the music to the characters to even the fan-made YouTube videos. So it's no surprise that the endings of these games can also make an impact. While charming and funny from the start, a player going through the typical RPG mindset of fighting monsters might only see a quirky combat-light indie game. The true depth isn't immediately apparent.
Its saving grace is a revolutionary approach between the pacifism and the violence route.
The pacifist ending is truly transformative, revealing a heartwarming narrative while every character you spare contributes to the generally happy conclusion, highlighting the power of kindness and understanding. The genocide ending, conversely, is horrifying, It doesn't just present a bad outcome, but actively shames the player, forcing them to confront the moral implications of their actions and destroying the world they previously saved. This stark contrast, and the game's memory of your choices across multiple playthroughs, even if you reset, elevates Undertale beyond a simple RPG into a profound commentary on empathy, consequence, and player responsibility, demonstrating that its core mechanic of non-violence was just an option, but the true emotionally resonant path to understanding its message.
And the neutral world has photoshopped Flowey. Need I say more?
Metroid for the NES. The badass Space Marine turns out to be a woman. Earthbound. Gygas is defeated by the power of goodwill. Portal 2. GLaDOS releases Chell from the facility. Uncharted 4. A Thief's End. Nathan and Elaine have a family in the end. Sonic X Shadow's Generations. Shadow finally sheds a tear for Maria. Mega Man 6. Dr. Wily is finally behind bars. Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater. The boss sacrifices herself in a field of white flowers.
She was a true patriot.
And the number one video game saved by the ending is the Stanley Parable.
So, the Stanley Parable isn't a traditional game with a single clear ending.
The game constantly plays with players' expectations, the role of the narrator, and the illusions of agency.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room.
Early on, players might feel frustrated by the narrator's control or the seemingly trivial nature of their choices, getting to the point and asking, is it just a walking simulator with a funny voice?
Walked straight ahead to the opposite door and got back on track.
However, its brilliance lied in its multitude of conclusions. More importantly, its multi-narrative and deconstruction of players' choice in video games.
This sheer number of endings, the narrator inconsistently desperate for frustrating reactions to your disobedience or obedience, and the reveal of the underlying game itself, that the Stanley Parable is a commentary on narrative design, fundamentally transforms the player's understanding. Endings like the not game ending, where you discover you're trapped in a demo, or the art gallery ending, which showcases the game's development, don't conclude a story. They provide philosophical or comedic epiphanies.
Its endings don't resolve a plot as much as they underscore its themes.
The brilliance isn't in a singular payoff, but in the culminant effect of constantly subverting expectations, forcing players to think critically about games and demonstrating that the journey of defiance or compliance is the point. It saves itself by revealing its true intellectual depth and comedic genius, turning what could be perceived as an unsighted or pointless experience into a profound one.
I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world.
Any more we missed? Well, leave them down in the comments below. I'm Galactic Knight, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more content. Until next time, keep watching and keep dreaming.